What up, Dolphins fans? Here I sit, brokenhearted. Thought about throwing a fit, but I don't know. I can't think of anything that rhymes. I was not sure if I was going to be able to get into the office in time tonight to do a live. Obviously, everybody else is busy too. So am I. I ended up getting a brand new desk for my office here, and it took me all day to get this set up, and I just finished. So my camera angle is a little wonky. It's not really what I'm looking for, so I'm going to try to fix that, but we're going to deal with it for now. This is what I'm working with. So thanks for stopping in. Those of you that come in and end up watching, those of you that see this after it's finished going live, I know it's hard right now being a Dolphins fan, and it's difficult to sometimes to even think about what's going on here. I've talked to a lot of people and listened to every corner of social media and watched a ton of other YouTubers and content creators and beat writers videos. And, there's always an amount of disagreement, right, for a fan base. And for the first time, and since I can remember, really, everybody seems to pretty much be on the same page right now, and it sucks because we're going through, we're in a dumpster fire right now, and it's hard to stay hopeful, optimistic, or anything like that. And I'm not throwing the hopium word around because it's not quite that. Just to try to stay hopeful. It's not it's not the same as just complete crazy hopium. This is something different. Even for someone who's positive like me, it's really hard right now because you just like every other person who is a Dolphins fan, we all know what the problems are, right? It's so obvious. Like we're not stupid. And the hard part about this is we're wondering why the Dolphins front office seems to be stupid, because they don't seem to understand. We're wondering why the coaching staff seems to be stupid, because they don't seem to understand. We as fans have the ability to sit back and enjoy hindsight and 20/20 vision through many different camera angles, right? And during a game, during the heat of the moment, teams might not have that luxury. They have the same camera angles we do, so let's not get it twisted. But after listening to the entire, basically the whole country of Dolphins fans and seeing where everybody else sits, Kat, what's up, man? Good to see you in here, brother. With all that going on, we all know what's up. We know what the problem is. We know what the problems are. Problems, plural, not one problem, obviously. We know the things that need to happen. And granted, some people want to take it, a step farther, and throw the fire everyone thing out, and completely just dismantle the team. You got to keep in mind, when you do something like that, you're making it impossible to even continue to play, if you fire everyone at once, so you got to think, what's the first step? What is that first step? Well, I mean, obviously, in my opinion, the first thing that needs to happen is Chris Gray needs to get fired. But that's not really the point of this video. I had the last live stream. You can go watch it if you had missed it. That's where I really laid my feelings and my thoughts out. This time I'm letting somebody else put their thoughts and opinions in here. And it's not the normal guest that you would think. It's not a human being. I don't have a human being as a guest tonight. What I have is I figure in this day and age with everybody using, Chat GPT and Gemini and all these AI programs to solve these problems and use in their everyday lives, I figured, man, why don't I just go ask AI what it thinks about this Dolphins team? So I asked it a couple different questions, and I found the answers really, really, really interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of this, and I want to tell you the questions that I asked, and then I'm going to give you the answer that Gemini is the AI that I asked, and I want to tell you what AI said. Now, the funny part about this is AI says the same things we do. That's the crazy part. It's no different, right? AI has a nice way of putting it because it gives a lot of information at the same time. But the first thing I asked, and like I said, I kind of already knew the answer to these questions, obviously, because we're not stupid as fans. Those of you that are in here, please throw a like down. Make sure to comment, say hi. Tell me what you guys are thinking as I go through this. But the first question that I asked Gemini was, is the Miami Dolphins defense historically bad? We all know that the Miami Dolphins defense is bad, but are they historically bad? As in the history of the NFL, how bad is this Miami Dolphins defense? If they continue to play this way, what's that going to look like? And I'm going to go through this, and I'll stop here and there, but I want you guys to kind of listen to this and comment as we go and tell me what you guys are thinking. The 2025 Miami Dolphins defensive crisis, a historical and analytical assessment. The efficiency verdict is first. The central analytical finding is that the 2025 Miami Dolphins defense, early in the regular season still, is performing at a rate that qualifies as historically poor when evaluated through advanced efficiency metrics, and we'll get into what those are. Although traditional volume statistics like points per game do not yet place them statistically beyond the all-time historical floor, their play-by-play inefficiency represents a systemic failure competitive with the most porous defensive units of the post-merger NFL era. The definitive evidence of this catastrophic inefficiency lies in their league worst ranking in expected points added, that's EPA, and per play allowed, currently standing at 0.23, which places them 32nd in the National Football League. This is compounded by a worst ranking in defensive passing defense, adjusted value over average, that's DVOA. And these stats are on PFF and other sites too. It's 51.8%, which puts them 32nd in the league. These efficiency metrics confirm that the Dolphins defense consistently yields favorable statistical outcomes to opponents on every snap. And you can see this stuff by looking at third down efficiency that we allow, which is over 50%. Fourth down efficiency that we allow as a defense, which we allow 85 point something percent success on fourth down. These stats don't bode well for the Miami Dolphins. The collapse is traceable to a triad of critical failures. Number one, severe attrition in the secondary due to injuries. Number two is compounded by a systemic failure in execution on critical downs, allowing 51.9 third down conversion rate, and reports from within the organization suggesting a loss of scheme integrity and defensive discipline, where personnel are noted to be doing more freelance stuff. The combination of depleted personnel and fractured execution within a complex defensive structure creates an environment primed for historical inefficiency. To assess whether the 2025 Dolphins defense merits the designation of historically bad, An objective, data-driven framework must be established. The analysis must incorporate both conventional volume statistics and modern context-neutral efficiency metrics. Points per game and yard per game analysis since the 1970 merger. The establishment of the historical floor relies on comparing the 2025 units output to the absolute worst defenses recorded since the AFL-NFL merger. Historically, the most permissive NFL defenses have allowed points per game in a distinct cluster of failure. For example, post-merger units considered among the worst registered opponent points per game figures range from 35.4 down to 29.0. The Dolphins' pace of allowing 29.5 points per game places them within the orbit of this established bottom quartile of historic defenses. The raw number alone confirms that the trajectory of the 2025 defense is exceptionally negative and statistically relevant in a historical context. In terms of yardage, while the absolute historical high for yards allowed in a season is 7,042, held by the Saints, the Dolphins' current yardage yield suggests a chronic fundamental inability to contain drives, a hallmark of historically poor defensive units. Relying solely on points per game and yards per game can be misleading, as these statistics possess significant blind spots. Raw points allowed can be skewed negatively by offensive turnovers that grant opponents advantageous field position, or positively by factors such as non-defensive scoring. Scoring rates have inflated across the decades, meaning a defense allowing 29.5 points per game today operates in a different league context than one from 29 points per game, 40 years ago. So to correct for these biases, advanced metrics like DVOA, which is defense adjusted value over average, and EPA, which is expected points added, are necessary. And these models adjust performance for factors such as opponent strength, starting field position, specific down and distance scenarios, and it provides a much more superior measure of true defensive inefficiency. And for the Dolphins this year, the high efficiency metrics allowed represent its true historical comparator. And when considering historical precedents within the franchise, records indicate that the 67 Dolphins defense appears on historical lists of teams with poor DVOA. The historical context is vital, as it suggests that periods of acute personnel shortage or organizational transition have in the past led to outlier efficiency failure for the franchise. The current crisis is therefore not an isolated anomaly, but rather a reflection of the recurring danger when critical organizational factors like coaching philosophy, scheme complexity, and personnel depth align poorly. This isn't good. None of this is good. This is essentially, and you can go ask these questions, yourself on AI, and it'll tell you. And it provides information. I mean, I've got pages and pages of information about this. So for a casual analysis for AI about this Dolphins defense is the triad of collapse, which is scheme, personnel, and execution. The historical trajectory of failure is not attributed to a single factor, but is rather the result of three deeply interconnected systemic issues: personnel attrition and secondary collapse. The single greatest proximate cause of the league worst passing DVOA, which is what the Dolphins have, is the overwhelming loss of key personnel in the defensive backfield. The injury report confirms a crippling loss of starting talent and critical depth, including cornerbacks Kader Kohu, Artie Burns, Storm Duck, and Jason Marshall Jr. The depletion of the secondary has undermined the viability of the defensive scheme. Anthony Weaver employs unique quarters coverage structures and man-match principles. These complex high IQ schemes demand veteran discipline and high processing speed and perfect communication to execute a necessary pre-snap checks and post-snap adjustments. And the necessity of deploying replacement level or inexperienced players into these complex roles has created profound, easily exploitable vulnerabilities. Anthony Weaver's scheme transition and contradiction. The defense Structure was predicated on a perceived strength, an elite investment in the pass rush, including two of the team's highest paid players in Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, and is augmented by the first-round pick Chop Robinson and veteran Matthew Judon. The scheme's intended philosophy was to utilize the depth to relentlessly attack offenses in waves, ensuring that whoever was on the field played full speed and with no governor for every snap. However, a critical contradiction exists between the resource investment and the statistical output. The defense struggled, ranking 26th in the NFL with only 2.1 sacks per game in the preceding season. And if the strength of the defense, the pass rush, can't consistently generate instant pressure, the catastrophic issues in the secondary are left exposed for longer coverage windows, directly leading to the devastating passing DVOA figure. This misallocation or underutilization of the pass rush resource means the strength cannot compensate for the fragility, leading to an exponential collapse of the entire unit. Execution, freelance play, and loss of structure. The final factor in the collapse is a failure of discipline and execution within the unit itself. Commentary from players indicated a fundamental breakdown in schematic fidelity. Bradley Chubb publicly stated that the defensive personnel were resorting to doing more freelance stuff on defense. This report of improvisation was confirmed in spirit by Anthony Weaver, who admitted that the situation on the field devolved into chaos for a little bit. This lack of schematic adherence suggests that players may either lack the requisite understanding of the complex Weaver scheme or have lost confidence in the scheme's ability to succeed and are improvising individual assignments. In a zone man-match system, freelance play is lethal, as it directly results in blown assignments, uncovered receivers, and high EPA yields. The failure of the coaching staff to effectively integrate key free agent acquisition Willie Gay, who receives no snaps in week 1 despite the defensive struggles, further highlights challenges in the personnel development and scheme preparedness as the season goes on. The defense is currently failing due to 3 codependent crises: personnel loss, and the execution of complex schemes, and freelance play. The destructive multiplicative effect is what allows the current defensive unit to achieve statistical inefficiency competitive with historical low points for the NFL since the merger. Conclusion is that Miami is on a high-risk trajectory. Whether the Miami Dolphins defense is historically bad must be answered definitively through the lens of modern analytical rigor. The current performance trajectory, characterized by a 32nd ranking in EPA and 32nd ranking in defensive passing DVOA, confirms that this unit is operating at a profound systemic level of inefficiency that qualifies as historically poor. Raw scoring figures place them merely in the vicinity of historical post-merger failures. Their play-by-play inadequacy demonstrates a depth of failure that transcends simple volume statistics. Prognosis is low, and the unit is locked in a detrimental cycle driven by a highly complex, aggressive scheme, being undermined by severe injury attrition in the secondary, which then compounds into documented execution failures and loss of discipline on the field. The defense is unlikely to improve until the personnel crisis in the secondary is mitigated and discipline returns to the point where players execute the scheme rather than freelancing their assignments. It's hard to read this, but that is information confirmed by stats. That's a really, really deep explanation for the following thing that I'm about to say. The Miami Dolphins defense is historically bad. Not just bad in this year, not just worse than the league. We are worse than the league by advanced volume metrics and by standard metrics. We are the worst. And in order to try to even hope to win a game, something's got to change on defense. Now, whether that's a super complex scheme that players have lost faith in and they are doing their own thing instead, or the attrition in the secondary. I mean, let's face it, all of our starters are out. and all we have left are backups and new additions. We have no pass rush. We cannot stop the run. This defense is historically bad. I don't remember the last time, like I said, according to AI, 1967 is the only time the Miami Dolphins had a worse defense. 1967. That's a long time, and that's a lot of defenses. Year by year, all the way to 2025. That's 58 years. In 58 years, this is the worst defense the Miami Dolphins have ever had. Personnel-wise, I don't know. I'm not saying that the people are the worst, but the product that we're putting on the field, the results that we're getting, as I just read off, those results show and prove that this team, this defensive squad for the Miami Dolphins this year, if we don't do something, if they don't figure something out, they will be the worst defense the Miami Dolphins have had in 58 years. And the worst defense, the second worst defense of all time for the Miami Dolphins, short 1 year, 1967. It's the only year that advanced metrics and regular stats show that the Miami Dolphins had a worse defense. No, and it's not. And what I'm doing is I'm just being honest. I got to share. Like I said, I'm always going to congratulate and I'm going to give props when things need to be congratulated and props need to be given. But in this situation for our defense, they are historically bad. And is there time to fix that? Sure, there is time. But something has to be done, right? I mean, I talked about it in the last live stream. You cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different outcome, right? That's the definition of insanity. Right, and that's the point. And we talked about that in my evaluations, that previous live stream after week 4, when I gave my quarterly. I got you, man. I got it too late. I'm tired. We do. At least we have each other, bro. You're right. It's rough right now, and that's the trick. Like, nobody wants to be in a historically bad defense, right? Giving up 30 points per game, you can't expect our offense to win games for us. And I've been hypercritical of Tua, right? I'm not saying, and so let me try to work this out. I've been hypercritical of a lot of things on offense, and in the last game especially because we couldn't run the ball, and I was very, very frustrating. But looking at what our defense is doing, how can I possibly expect this offense to bail us out? When you have a historically bad defense, there's not much to do. Man, Aqua, I hope you have a good time at the game, brother. I really do. I hope that the Dolphins manage to get a win, and I hope you enjoy the experience, man. I'm so jealous. I want to go so bad. But flying from North Pole, Alaska to South Beach that's a heck of a plane ticket. But yeah, I mean, you can't expect the offense to do much when we're fighting against a historically bad defense, and that's why I wanted to ask Gemini AI. That's why I wanted to ask that question: are we historically bad? Because looking at the stats and looking at everything, we are. And I kind of already knew the answer before I asked it, but then I got this really, really educated and stat-proven response, and we are. What's up, Abel? Good to see you, man. I'm gonna try. I really want to. That's the donation thing. That's it's for the stream and stuff. And if I can get enough to make a trip to Miami, I would love to go to a Dolphins game. Try to work it out to where I can go to 2 in a row. That's my plan. But we'll see what ends up happening. If I go, I'm going to live stream that whole freaking thing, though. um, so we talked about the stats. We talked about this defense and how bad it is. So what do you do? Well, I have a couple ideas, and this is just my personal thoughts. Number one, Tyrell Dotson obviously is out with a concussion, so Willie Gay is going to get playtime, right? I mean, you would think so. It's going to be KJ Britt, and it's going to be Willie Gay splitting that detail. Obviously, one's a pass rush pro, and one is a pass coverage pro, and one is more of a running game pro. So they'll be switching them in and out. Yeah, I've been to not to a Dolphins game, no, but I've been to football games there. I've been to football games in Seattle. I've been to football games in Arizona, and I've been to a football game at Mile High Stadium. But that's it. No Dolphins games. I've never been to a live Dolphins game. Someday I'm going to make that happen when I get, YouTube famous. I can't even say that without laughing. Holy cow. So there are things that we can do on defense to make this better. Number one, assignments. You cannot go off on your own and freelance and do whatever you think you want to do. You have to have faith in the system. Now, Anthony Weaver's system is complicated, but it is proven to work. All right. So players need to hunker down and stick with their assignments, right? That'd be the first step. The second step for the coaching staff, dumb it down a little bit. If players are struggling with their assignments, just dumb it down a little bit. And a good way to do that would be to stop with the cute blitzes, right? Just stop with the cute blitzes. If you're going to blitz with the people that are paid to blitz. Stop dropping Jalen Phillips back into coverage. Send him on a blitz. Stop dropping him back and sending Tyrell Dotson on a blitz. It's not working. All right? Jalen Phillips, I think, is a better pass rusher. So let's let him do his job. That would be a couple things that would help a lot, right? As far as the defensive interior goes, I really think that Zeke Biggers needs a shot. I think that you give him a shot. It can't be worse than what we're getting from Kenneth Grant. Let Zeke Biggers go in there and get some snaps and see how the other guys like it when somebody else is getting their snaps. Tell them if they want to get back in there and they want to get their snaps back, they need to play better. Motivation is key. So that's a couple things that are super easy. And at this point, why not try it? Let the big man get in there and see what he can do. Zeke Biggers is huge. Let him play. He doesn't have to play all the time, but give him more snaps. Take some snaps from Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant's almost got 40 snaps a game. Get him back to around 25 or 30. 20 even. Give some more snaps to the people that are more successful, right? That would be a good start for defense. Those of you that are in here, make sure you throw likes down for me. Help a brother out. Try and get people in the door. You know what I mean? And tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you're thinking about this. I really believe that there are avenues to fix these issues. It's just a matter of, are they going to do it, right? As far as firing people and burning it all to the ground and stuff, I think people need to lose their jobs. Let's be clear about that. And personally, if it was me, I would be gearing towards firing Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel, and Anthony Weaver if the defense continues to be what it is, historically bad. Second worst defense all time for the Miami Dolphins. But I'm smart enough also to know that you can't do all those things at once. It just can't happen that way. So what's the first step? What do you do first? There's a pretty simple answer there too. The first thing that you do is start at the top. Start at the person who's put this team together. Start at the person who's had multiple opportunities to do rebuilds, multiple chances to fix this. You fire Chris Greer right off the bat. Then you bring a new GM in. I don't care who it is. I don't give a crap. Anybody is better than what we have. Bring in a new GM and let him evaluate all the other coaching positions. Let him evaluate players. That's his job. And at this point, anybody could do a better job than what Chris Greer's done. I'm sorry. For those of you that like Chris Greer, that's where I'm at with it, right? What can we do for the run game? Teams have been all over H-hand now. They don't have a too high shell for Reek. Well, part of as far as our run game goes or defense, because there's some answers there. I kind of covered what the defense could do to fix that. But as far as our run game being absent completely, I don't know how you can fix it without fixing the offensive line. We're missing very, very important players. And as at this point, this is a lesson in humility. Liam Eichenberg, if you somehow see this video, if you're somehow listening to this, I'm sorry. Liam Eichenberg, I am sorry. Because what we have now as for an offensive line, you want to talk about historically bad. This offensive line is bad too. The players that we went and got are out. Austin Jackson is out. Liam Eichenberg is out. James Daniels is out. And these players were supposed to be able to come back after week 4. And Mike McDaniel just had an interview, and he said that those players would not be back for a few more weeks. So there's not even a light at the end of the tunnel for this. This is just going to continue. Larry Borum is horrible. Jonas Vainaya is the worst guard in the NFL. I'm not just saying that. I'm just calling it like it is because stat-wise, according to PFF, I know it's just PFF and it's not everything, but stat-wise, Vainaya is the worst guard in the NFL. And that's not good. Have I given up on him and written him off as a bust? No. I have not. But at this point, we got to do something on offense. And I think the biggest point is that our offensive line is not going to cut it. It's not working. We really need our offensive linemen to come back from injury. Austin Jackson is a pretty good run blocker, and he would help. James Daniels, he would help as well. I really feel like if we end up getting some of those guys back, it would be better. Number 2, I really think that if you take Jonah and put him back on the side of the ball that he's good at, would help immensely. If you want somebody to do the switcheroo and play the opposite side of the line, pick someone who is notorious for being able to play every position on the offensive line. Well, who are you talking about, Dirk? I'll tell you who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the man that I just apologized to. Put Liam Eichenberg there. Why are we even playing? It's in my brain. It's so simple, and I don't know why. If I can have the answer, if everybody on the internet can come up with these answers, if a freaking computer can come up with these answers in AI, if we can get all these answers from a computer, from our phones, what is stopping our head coach from taking a cell phone, a simple cell phone? What is stopping our head coaches from just, if they don't know, if they have no clue what to do, hey, AI, how do I fix this? And they're going to get an answer like I just gave you guys in the beginning of this live stream. And they'll have a blueprint for how to fix this problem. What is stopping them? It's ineptitude at an all-time level. That's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, here you go. Yep, that's it. Yeah. I wonder if they've considered moving Jonah back to right guard. He looks so awful at left guard. And it's such a hard move to make. And that's why I haven't written him off. It's because it's really hard to do that. Josh, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in, brother. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a fantastic point, Phil. But and like I said, these things are so obvious. We're sitting here talking and we're coming up with these ideas and these things. AI gave me a bunch of stats showing exactly what the problems are on defense. That's what I just spent the first 20 minutes of this thing reading. Here we go. We've got answers. Why can they not come up with why people getting paid millions to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to coach this team? a general manager making millions of dollars to put this team together. And they can't figure it out. Yeah, I heard that. I'm waiting for a little more, but I know that Stephen Ross is upset, right? He's frustrated, and I understand. I would be too. Spending, billions of dollars and having this kind of output. It's unreal. And nobody wants to be part of a historically bad team. And we're not just looking at records and points per game and yards per game allowed, because those are pretty baseline stats, right? They don't take into account a lot of extra stuff. That's why I think DVOA and EPA are such an important stat for football, especially for considering how effective defenses are, right? That's why those stats show so much. And if you look at those kind of stats that take into account field position and game situations and everything else, we are historically bad. Something needs to be done. How long are we giving Grant and Jonah before the excuses start to pile up even more? I don't know. Like I said, as far as that goes, Jonah, I'm willing to give a little more time than Kenneth Grant, just because of what they're expecting Jonah to do by playing an entirely different side of the offensive line. That is difficult. So I'm trying to understand, but his output is worst guard in the National Football League. That's not good. It's horrible, right? So I'm not sure at this point. Right now, I think you have to take the first step to fix this team. And that first step, obviously, is at the very top. The man who put this all together. Get rid of him and then start working your way down. And eventually these other things are going to work out. Either Jonah will figure something out or not. But Kenneth Grant is playing like absolute trash. I know Jonah is playing bad, but Grant has no excuse. None. He's a rookie. That's the only thing you could say. I'm not giving it to an excuse. I don't have any. I'm not really a two-an-ear, so and I hate that word because I hate trying to divide the fan base, but I don't have a Tua excuse. I've already made my thoughts on Tua very, very clear. I think he's a decent quarterback, but he's not the guy that's going to take this team to the next level, and he's not the guy that's going to put the team on his back and go win a football game. He's shown that time and time and time again, and it's getting frustrated, even for the people that were supportive of him, So no, I don't have any more Tua excuses. Not really offering any of those. Yeah, I know. It's all, and I'm not saying, I understand, man. I understood what you were saying. I'm just saying, from my point of view, I don't have a Tua excuse. I just don't. Like I said, I feel like he could be a very, very good quarterback if he could just get that clutch bone in his body. And what's funny is, back in the day when he was playing in college, I really thought he had that clutch bone, Like, I thought he had that ability to put the team on his back and win it. Well, he did. He did. He won the national championship. I mean, so something happened coming into the NFL, and he just doesn't have that anymore. And we need that on this team. That's where we are. We need that. So as far as Tua, that's where I'm at with Tua. He's a good quarterback, but he's not great, and I don't think he has the ability to pick this team up, put it on his shoulders, and go win a game. And he's shown us time and time again that when we need him to go out and do that, it doesn't happen. Has he done it at some point? Yeah, he's done it a couple times. But more often than not, what do we see? We see a pick. We see something else, Hey, Liz. Good to see you in here. Thanks for coming. Make sure you guys throw a like down. Help me out. Yeah, it's frustrating. We have these issues, these problems, and everybody here sees the same problems. The more Tua started showing his true personality, the less I like him. A lot of his comments about potato chips or anyone can play QB or Bush League and reek of insecurity. Yeah, I can see him getting upset with, some of the things that are being said or asked in these interviews, but at the same time, you're getting paid a lot of money to answer those questions, right? And sometimes you just got to be the bigger man, and you got to just not take those snide little shots, even though you want to. Like, I would have a hard time with it too. I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm a pretty nice dude sometimes. But yeah, I would have a hard time too. So I'm not going to give too much crap about that, but it is frustrating. I agree, definitely. I think there's avenues to fix these problems, right? But something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. And as far as McDaniel goes, I mean, there's some questionable. It's weird. The first 15 minutes of that game in Carolina, the first 15 minutes, he called a good game. He called a good game the first 15 minutes, and then something happened, and he just reverted to stupidity. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the 4th and 17 play. Or deciding to punt. I'm not going to talk about that because I can see kind of there is an argument for both sides of that, but other stuff, not playing Darren Waller, not going to Darren Waller when you really needed to in the second half. They didn't even go to him except for like once. In the NBA, it's called the heat check. You have a guy who's feeling it, and he goes and hits a three, runs back on defense. The ball comes back into the offense's hands. They run down the court, and the whole time they know that they're going to give the ball right back to him for a heat check. Darren Waller had the hot hand in that game. No way around it. He had the hot hand. And more times in that game, they had an opportunity to throw to him, and they should have. But Mike McDaniel didn't even put him out there because he's on a pitch count or whatever. It doesn't matter. He's healthy. And he wanted to be out there. And he's gobbling up every pass that goes his way. You throw him the freaking ball. I don't know. He called a few run plays, not many, and some of the run plays he called were questionable in the second half. The stretch plays, like, why? Run ISOs, run counters. Don't run the stretch play. The stretch play just doesn't work unless they're not expecting a run. If they're not expecting a run, the stretch can work. But we only ran the ball on first down most of the time when you're expecting a run. Like, there was no unpredictability in our offensive play calling. So nobody is really out of the realm of responsibility for this last loss, especially. Unacceptable. When things don't go right, instead of reworking the problem, decides to add yet another layer to an already overly engineered offense. Bingo. Bingo. Nailed it. Yep, that's it right there. Liz, you're killing me. Tua reminds me of those dumb turtles on Super Mario Brothers that try to knock you out. Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. Reaver has regressed like crazy too. I could see him being the first of cut. I could too. And here's the sad part about this. No one is going to be able to change my mind about this when I say this. The absolute first person that should be removed from this team is Chris Greer. He's the one. That's the first move you make. It's the most sensible thing, and that's where the changes start. You get Chris Greer out the building. It's so obvious that that's what needs to happen first. Everything else can trickle off of that. You bring a new GM in, and everything changes. Yeah. Yep, definitely. Greer has to be gone first. Yeah, for sure. Bring a new GM in and let him evaluate everyone and put his stamp on this team. The very first thing has got to be Chris Greer going away. Drake May led a game-winning drive to beat the Bills in their house, and then we saw Trevor Lawrence lead a game-winning drive against the Chiefs. Tua can't even do it against the Panthers. We should at least expect that from him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no excuse why Tua couldn't go out there. And I'm not just blaming Tua here, but in that last 2 drives, he had opportunities. And there was 2 specific passes to Jalen Waddle that, man, one of them was a pick. Okay, I'll just be real. One of those passes to Jalen Waddle was a pick, but Jalen Waddle bailed Tua out on it by tipping it. Those passes, 2 passes alone drove me nuts. They weren't difficult passes to make. I mean, granted, I'm saying, for a quarterback in the NFL, for me, I would be horrible, right? I wouldn't be able to make some of those passes. But somebody who's getting paid $43 million, don't say 50-something million dollars a year because he's not making that. All right. If you don't understand the cap and contracts, just trust me, he's making closer to 40 million. Okay. But regardless, $40 million a year, you should be able to make those throws. Starting quarterback, franchise QB, you got to make those throws. Drove me nuts. Yep, needs to start happening ASAP. We need to get this team attractive with assets and cap space. Cutting Greer and selling players like Chubb or JP would help attract a new GM head coach. I agree. I think that's why at this point, 1-4, through week 5, going to play the Chargers here at our home. Need to see some change, and we're at the point where it needs to happen now. If you wait till the end of the season, you're giving no evaluation time to the new GM, right? And that's, Josh, we're talking about something being attractive for a general manager. Letting go of a general manager near the middle or to the beginning of the season and saying, you come in, you evaluate this year, do what you want to do, but you have this year, and then you have the whole next offseason to plan it how you want it, right? That's attractive. And if I was somebody that was being interviewed for a general manager job, someone says, not only do you have the entire offseason to work this, but you have the entire rest of this season to work this. You get to watch these players before the offseason, so you'll know how they're going to perform in game, and you'll be able to do what you want. That's attractive. That's something that a player or a GM is going to want, right? Having that carte blanche to do whatever you want with the team. He has the talent, and he's a perfect example of needing new scenery. I agree. I think that a change of teams probably would help Tua. I think he has regressed this year. Mainly, I see it in his happy feet. Something that I used to always make fun of Skylar Thompson for is the happy feet, and I see it a lot in Tua this year, and it's sad. It's sad. But I do think, Josh, that somebody who's making starting quarterback money in the NFL should be able to make basic throws, a 10, 12-yard pass to a wide open receiver. I do. Told you in January, and the same Sunday night, the season was lost in January when we brought McDaniel and Greer. From that exact moment, we lost this season. True. So true. 4,356 concussions will do that to a guy. I really think that we need to start with Greer. Something needs to be done. Take a step, right? Just one step. Do that, and then things can start happening. Players will see that there is a desire to change, and players are going to start, performing for their job, which is what the NFL should be about in the first place. It's a competition. It's a competitive league. It's not just, got my contract, I'm good to go now. I believe so too. I do too. I think so too. There are players on this team that could be foundational. And you get the right guy in here at GM, hopefully he can see that, right? And see the ones that we should keep. Because there are some. Yeah, and you know what sucks about that, Bondito? What sucks about that? Greer proves he can't build from the draft. This year, I thought he had a good draft. I really did. I mean, granted, I'm not going to make a final judgment of Kenneth Grant and Jonas Savaiinaia yet, just because I mean it is 5 weeks into the first season for them. I want to wait a little longer before I pass judgment, or at least my final evaluation of Savaiinaia and Kenneth Grant. But I really was hoping they would have put forth more than what they have. Yeah, Josh, me too. I have a little bit I'm giving a little bit of grace to them right now, even though they are playing pretty badly. I'm still trying to give a little bit of grace to the rookies. I don't want to be the guy that blames the rookies when there's plenty other amounts of blame to go around, right? They do have their certain share of responsibility for what's happened, but you kind of have to accept that when you're expecting a lot from rookies. They don't bite as puppies. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They're not biting right now. But I really thought Chris Greer had a decent draft this year, and it's just not paying off like I thought. But my thoughts to fire Chris Greer aren't just from this draft. It's not that. It's not. It's a lot of other things. It's a lot of other things. It's management of the team itself. It's free agency. It's availability for other players. It's contracts. It's a lot of things. And miss me, whoever, if anybody thinks that Chris Greer isn't in on contract discussions and negotiations, you're nuts. He's right there alongside during all of that. So I just feel like he's not the guy, and he's had his chance. He's had plenty of opportunities, and it needs to end. There's plenty of other ways and plenty of other ways to go about this. And I don't think Chris Greer's got the required equipment. I do appreciate you guys coming in here, though, and letting me talk about this. It's always fun coming in here and talking and seeing what everybody else thinks as well. Goodness, yeah. I mean, you look at the stats. I mean, I know stats only tell half the story, but we've watched the games, so we know, right now, the stats may only tell half the story, but the stats and the games tell the same story. So it's not quite that simple right now for that. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. If I don't even remember if you've been in here yet before, but if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I do a live show every Tuesday, and usually do live streams for the games, a couple videos a week. There's plenty of content. Have guests on, So I think stats aren't always the worst, or aren't always the only indicator of what's wrong, right? We see the games too, and right now, like I said, these stats in these games are showing the exact same thing. So you can look at the stats and see the issues. Something that cracks me up here: rushing yards allowed per game, 174.2 yards. That's how much we allow per game, 174 yards rushing. And we only average 82.2 for our offense. That's a big stat. And if you're looking at a stat line, circle that stat, because that's something that has got to change. That indicates two big problems this team has right now, right? Two very big problems. The other thing, allowing an 87.5% efficiency for offenses to get playing against us on fourth down. 87.5. Teams are 7 for 8 on fourth down against us this year. It's horrible. Well, how are they doing on third down? Well, we allow a league high 57.14% conversion rate on third down. Or I'm sorry, 47%. That's unacceptable. No, oh my goodness. We allow 50%. We average 46%. It's unreal. These stats are horrible. And you can see them because they're such outliers when you're scanning a stat sheet. You see these and you see they're indicative of a problem. Our pass game is getting there. I'm not concerned with the pass game overall, but expecting the pass game to do all the work, that's preposterous. That's not how the NFL works, and we're going to suffer unless we get our running game going. How do we do that? Well, we get our offensive linemen going. Liam Eichenberg, come back, please. It's not looking good right now, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get some of these guys back in the game. Oh, it's bad. And, the whole thing with Jordan Brooks and Dotson leading the NFL, number 1 and number 2 in tackles. That tells you all we need to know about our defensive line. That and allowing 175 rushing yards per game. If our linebackers have to make that many tackles, that shows you that our defensive line is not doing its job. We're allowing people to get into the backfield too fast, too much, too often, however you want to say it. And this last game, I mean, there was turnovers, there was interceptions, and our defense still couldn't do it. It's not good, guys. Things have to change. Let's see. Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and Darren Waller all have 3 touchdowns receiving, so that's not bad. But like I said, you can't defend on the passing game only. We can't be that one-sided football team. People are just going to tee off on us. It's about where I'm at. I mean, you look back at what he's done. I mean, he's made a couple good decisions, but for every good decision, you've got 10 horrible ones, And that's the problem. That's the problem with Greer. Greer needs to go. He's the first step. It's so obvious that that's the first thing that needs to happen. Everything else could play off of that. But Chris Greer losing his job would be a fantastic start to righting this ship. And a necessary one. That is the one that needs to happen first. Has to. Blake, what's up, brother? Thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys throw a like down for me. I like the likes. I like likes more than donations, so. Those of you guys that came in here a little late, make sure you guys, when this is over, make sure you guys go back and listen to the start of this stream where I basically asked Jim and I questions about this Dolphins defense. Are they historically bad? What's wrong? What are the problems? And the answers that I gave on here, and they are very revealing. Most of the stuff we already know. I'm just sitting here scrolling through the stat lines and everything else, and it's so freaking obvious what the issues are, guys. So obvious. Got to do something. We've got to. Let's see here. There was another one that I posed, and it was to Jim and I said, hang on a second here. Let's not forget Greer had so much freaking rounds in the chamber from a draft cap standpoint with the trades and did nothing with them. Absolutely nothing. I want the remote from Click so we can just fast forward to when Greer gets fired. That'd be cool. I'd be down for that. So I asked Jim and I, what can the Miami Dolphins do to fix and save their season? Now, and this answer is pretty incredible, all right? So it gives a multifaceted way to solve this problem. Number one, it gives 4 points. Number one, it says front office management has been lackadaisical, to say the least, and changes need to be made. Okay, so the first thing it's saying is Chris Greer needs to be fired. That's what it's saying. Okay. The second thing it says, immediate personnel acquisition and defensive depth. The greatest proximate cause of the league worst passing defense adjusted value over average. That's DVOA. That's that stat I was talking about, is catastrophic attrition in the defensive backfield. The most direct and necessary fix is stabilizing the secondary through external additions through the trade deadline. Okay. So it says trade for cornerback help, create cap flexibility, and evaluate trade assets. So it's suggesting that we kind of start looking to offload some stuff, right? So we can pick up players that we need. And it suggests some people on defensive line. I won't say it, but you guys know who they are. 2, defensive scheme and execution simplification. And I said this earlier. I said that we need to simplify the defense a little bit. Just dumb it down a little bit, and I think it'd be beneficial. It says that right there. That's the next thing that needs to happen, right? We have too many key free agents on this team that just came in that are new, and too many rookies. And it needs to be dumbed down to accommodate that, all right? And then early down coverage needs to be adjusted inside of that defensive scheme note. Weaver himself recognized that the team's under coverages have gotten too much depth, which means they're too deep on under coverage, and they're leaving a big gap there for players to get open, right? And that needs to be fixed. Number 4 is offensive support and time of possession control. How do you get time of possession control? Anybody? I'll wait. First person to say it in the chat gets a star. How do you control time of possession for an offensive football team? Anybody? Three words. Starts with run. Run the ball right there, guys. You guys nailed it. Stars for you guys. You got to run the ball. That's what's needed. That's what we need. I'm getting passionate again. If AI knows this, if I can just type this into a phone and AI can nail it, maybe our coaches need to use AI. Maybe AI needs to be our general manager. Can't be worse than Chris Greer. Goodness. At least statistically, it'll make sense, the things that they do. There are ways to make this better, is my point. There's an avenue for success here. The talent on the team isn't indicative of what we've got results for. And that tells me that some things need to be changed, not just players, but the general manager, I think, needs to be changed. Head coach probably needs to be changed. Simplifying the defense would be a huge, huge solution. Getting players back, that stuff will definitely help. But we've got an avenue here to make this better, and I don't know if they're going to do it. That's the problem. Are they going to do it? We just don't know. And that's why I feel like firing Chris Greer would be a start. And I think that if fans saw that happen, I think that would lead to a little bit of renewed vigor, right? A little bit more piss in the pants. You know what I mean? I just think it would be good. Fans would feel a little more revived about the team. I think the team would feel better. I think they definitely perform better. If all you changed was that, it would definitely lead to more optimism. Blake, you're right. I know I would feel a little more optimistic about stuff if they let Chris Greer go. Because then I would see it. I would be like, well, there's a good first step. That's the only logical one. If anybody says any other step is the first thing we should do, it's wrong. The first thing that needs to happen is Chris Greer. That's it. Do that first and let the rest of the chips fall where they may. Thank you guys for being here and watching. I appreciate you guys so much. It's always a blast being in here with you. Make sure you guys throw a like down. If you feel like donating, don't feel like you have to, but if you do, it's down there at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new, and I'll have a new video out in a couple days. We're going to talk more about this. I'm not done. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. And I know it's hard. It's hard to stay optimistic right now. But try to stay hopeful if you can. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Fins up.